There's a moment in every person's life when something begins to shift, not on the outside, but on the inside. You feel it before you can explain it. Circumstances begin to change. Doors you expected to walk through suddenly close. Friends begin to distance themselves. Opportunities you thought were certain suddenly fall through, and it's confusing. You begin to wonder, why now? Why this? Why me? But what if the confusion is not the end, but the evidence that something big is coming? Every time God is about to do something significant in your life, he sends signals, not to frighten you, but to prepare you. One of the first signs, disruption. You'll notice your comfort zones start to collapse. Patterns that used to work stop working. What once brought satisfaction now feels empty. Empty. This is divine disruption. It's the way God clears the space so he can build something new. He's not tearing you down. He's setting the foundation for what's next. Another sign is isolation. Suddenly, the noise of the crowd fades. People stop calling. You're not invited to the same rooms you used to walk into, but don't misinterpret this as abandonment. When God removes the crowd, it's because he wants your attention. Intimacy with him often begins in obscurity. God does his best work when no one's watching. Then comes resistance. You'll face challenges that feel tailor-made to shake your faith. Obstacles will arise. Delays will stretch longer than expected. But this resistance is not random, it's strategic. It's pressure that prepares you to hold the blessing when it arrives. You're not being punished, you're being promoted. Resistance is a sign you're closer than you think. But before the breakthrough comes the test. God doesn't bless based on potential. He blesses based on preparation. So he tests your patience. He tests your obedience. He watches how you handle what you already have before giving you more. If you can't steward the little, how will you manage the overflow? You may even face closed doors, rejection, silence, detours. But here's the secret. Every closed door is God's way of redirecting you to something better. His no is not rejection, it's protection. If that door had opened, it would have taken you where his grace wouldn't keep you. So he closes what needs to be closed so you don't miss what's meant for you. And then when all certainty fades, when the path ahead is dim, your faith is called forward. Faith isn't proven in the light. It's proven in the dark. When you choose to trust, even when you can't trace the plan, you're showing God you're ready for what's next. So don't be alarmed by the chaos. Don't be discouraged by the silence. Don't run from the resistance. These are not signs of failure. These are signs that God is aligning everything. He's removing what won't serve you in the next season. He's pruning what will bear fruit later. He's preparing your heart, your character, and your mindset for something that's not just big, but divine. If you're seeing all this, it's not the end. It's the signal. God is about to give you something big. Watch for the signs and stay ready. When something big is about to happen in your life, one of the first signs is disruption. It's not random and it's not meaningless. It is divine. Disruption is often misunderstood because it doesn't look like a blessing at first. It looks like inconvenience. It feels like confusion. Things start falling apart. What used to be easy becomes difficult. The routines that once gave you peace now feel empty. The places you used to find comfort no longer feel like home. But this shaking isn't happening because you've done something wrong. It's happening because God is shifting you into something greater. Before God promotes you, he disrupts your current situation to prepare the ground for what's coming next. God never brings new blessings into old systems. He won't pour fresh oil into cracked vessels. So before elevation comes, there's always a period of shaking, breaking, and rebuilding. This is not to harm you. It's to stretch you, prepare you, and realign you. Divine disruption is like a storm before the sunrise. It cleanses what needs to go, removes what no longer serves a purpose, and reveals what you've been ignoring. Sometimes we hold on to things that are too small for the next season. We cling to relationships, environments, or mindsets that are familiar but limiting. So God begins to disrupt the comfort zones. He removes certain people. He shuts down certain opportunities. He creates moments of tension, not to destroy you, but to detach you from what you've outgrown. It's important to understand that disruption isn't a sign of divine absence. It's often a signal of divine presence. God is moving in ways that may not feel good, but are ultimately for your good. Think of how an architect must first demolish an old structure before building something new. The tearing down isn't wasteful. It's intentional. It creates space for the new foundation. In the same way, God removes layers of your life that can't sustain what he's about to build. The old habits, toxic cycles, misplaced dependencies, all of these have to be confronted and dismantled before he can trust you with more. In these moments, people often ask, why is everything falling apart? But the real question should be, what is God making room for? Because every disruption carries the potential for transformation. You see, we rarely change when we're comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of growth. And God is far more interested in your development than your convenience. If disruption is what it takes to get your attention, he will allow it, not as punishment, but as preparation. He knows what's coming and he knows what you need to handle it. Sometimes the divine disruption comes in the form of loss. You lose a job, a position, or a sense of security. Other times it comes through emotional shaking, an internal restlessness that makes you question your current life direction. This isn't meant to leave you hopeless. Ew. It's meant to stir up your purpose. Disruption disrupts complacency. It wakes you up from spiritual sleep. It invites you into a deeper dependence on God and a stronger sense of identity. It forces you to look beyond what you can control and lean into faith. There's also a timing element to this. God will not disrupt you unless it's time to shift. That's why the chaos doesn't start until you're on the edge of transition. That's why everything seems fine for a long season, and then suddenly the storm hits. It feels like life flipped without warning. But that's the nature of divine movement. It doesn't ask for your schedule, it works on God's calendar. And when he says it's time, nothing can stop the shaking. The longer you resist it, the more uncomfortable it becomes. But the sooner you embrace it, the faster you move into your next assignment. And here's the truth many overlook. Sometimes your breakthrough doesn't look like a door opening. It looks like a floor collapsing. Because before God elevates you, he must excavate you. He digs deep, clears out what's hidden, and lays a new foundation. That's what divine disruption is. It's God clearing space for your calling. It's him rearranging your life so you can carry the blessing without it crushing you. So if your life feels like it's unraveling, don't panic. Pay attention. Ask yourself what God might be removing, revealing, or realigning. Don't rush to fix what's falling apart. Ask for wisdom to understand what God is doing beneath the surface. The disruption you fear might be the very thing that leads to the transformation you've prayed for. When God is about to give you something big, he starts by shaking the small things loose. And that's how you know. Divine disruption is not the end. It's the beginning of something far greater than you imagine. There's a season in every person's journey where they feel alone, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. People begin to drift away. Invitations stop coming. Conversations grow fewer. The phone that once rang often is now silent. It feels like something is missing, like you've been forgotten or set aside. But in reality, this isn't rejection. It's divine preparation. When God is about to do something big in your life, he often takes you into a season of isolation, not to punish you, but to prepare you. We often associate being alone with being unworthy, unwanted. But in the spiritual realm, isolation is one of God's greatest tools. It's the environment where transformation takes place. When you are isolated, distractions are removed, noise is silenced. Your attention is no longer scattered. And in that sacred space, God begins to work, not just around you, but within you. In the world's eyes, being surrounded by people constantly moving, constantly producing is a sign of success. But in God's process, the hidden places are where the real progress happens. Isolation is where your identity is clarified. It's where your motives are purified. It's where your faith is stretched and matured. It's where God peels back layers that you've been carrying for years, layers of insecurity, pride, fear, or self-reliance, and replaces them with strength, humility, wisdom, and trust. If you study the lives of people God used mightily, they all went through isolation before promotion. It was in the wilderness, not the palace, that hearts were shaped for greatness. It was in the quiet, not the spotlight, where character was formed. God removes you from the crowd because crowds can cloud your clarity. He takes you out of familiar places because comfort zones can choke your growth. In isolation, you stop living to impress others and start listening to what God actually thinks of you. This process is uncomfortable because we crave connection, We want validation. We want reassurance. But God is teaching you to draw your worth from Him alone. In isolation, there is no one else to lean on. You learn how to hear His voice more clearly. You discover how to walk by faith, not by popularity or applause. You learn that your calling isn't based on who approves of you, but on who created you. There will be moments when you ask, "Oh, why is no one here for me?" But instead of asking why you're alone, start asking what God wants to teach you while you're alone. This is a classroom, not a cage. It's a sacred training ground, not a punishment cell. God is preparing your heart, not just your hands. He is building in you the endurance, discipline, and resilience that the next season of your life will require. If He allowed you to skip this step, the weight of the blessing could break you. The public platform you're praying for could crush you if you haven't built the private strength to stand on it. And yes, it's tempting to fight the solitude, to rush out of it, to distract yourself with noise, people, and busyness. But you'll miss the lesson. You'll miss the transformation. If you escape the wilderness too early, you'll enter the promised land unprepared. The key is to stay present in the process. Don't resist it, embrace it. Let the silence teach you. Let the loneliness press you into prayer. Let the lack of affirmation push you deeper into your true identity. In isolation, God will strip away false dependencies. He'll show you that your joy isn't tied to people, that your peace isn't found in popularity, that your calling doesn't need constant confirmation. What God is building in private will soon be revealed in public, but only when it's fully ready. And readiness takes time. Maturity takes solitude. Growth takes space. So if you feel left out, overlooked, or disconnected, don't despair. This is not the end of your story. It's the chapter where God shapes the strongest parts of you. You're not being rejected, you're being refined. You're not being forgotten, you're being formed. When God isolates you, it's because He's about to elevate you. But He must first ensure that your character can carry what your calling will demand. The isolation won't last forever, but what you gain in it will last a lifetime. The silence will eventually break, the doors will open, and the people meant for your future will return. But when they do, you'll be different. You'll be stronger, you'll be ready. Because in the place of isolation, God didn't leave you, He led you. There comes a point in your journey where things begin to push back harder than ever before. You face unexpected opposition, delays that test your patience, closed doors that feel unfair, and people who misunderstand your heart. You feel like the weight of life just got heavier right when you were making progress. But what if that pressure is not an indication of failure, but confirmation that you're getting close? What if the resistance you're experiencing is a signal that you're almost there? Resistance is not always a sign to stop. In fact, in God's divine process, resistance is often the clearest sign of proximity. The closer you get to the breakthrough, the heavier the spiritual and emotional resistance becomes. This is not a coincidence, it's a principle. When a rocket is about to break through the Earth's atmosphere, it experiences its greatest resistance right before the release. Likewise, in your life, the moment you're about to transition into something significant is often the moment when things feel the hardest. Why? Because the enemy doesn't fight what doesn't threaten him. He doesn't waste his time opposing someone who isn't moving. If you were going nowhere, doing nothing, living passively and staying small, there would be no resistance. But the moment you start to walk in your calling, the moment you begin to believe in the promise, the moment you start preparing for what's ahead, that's when the opposition begins. Not because you're off course, but because you're on it. We often think that resistance is proof we made the wrong decision, that maybe we heard God wrong or moved too soon. But in truth, resistance is often how God confirms your direction. The discomfort you feel isn't always a detour. Sometimes it's the labor pains of birthing a new season. You're pushing forward and life is pushing back, but that tension is evidence that you're pressing into something valuable. Think of it like climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the thinner the air becomes, your body begins to fatigue faster, and the climb gets steeper. That's not a sign to turn around. It's proof that elevation is near. In the same way, when you begin to encounter resistance in your spiritual walk, in your dreams or in your calling, it's a sign that you're rising. The enemy doesn't oppose you for where you are. He resists you for where you're going. But resistance doesn't only come from the outside. Sometimes the greatest resistance is internal. Doubts creep in. Fear tries to whisper that you're not ready. Insecurities resurface. You begin questioning if you have what it takes. And that's when faith must rise. You must remind yourself that every great move of God in your life will require you to press past the inner resistance as well. Your mind will try to negotiate with your spirit. It will urge you to take the easy road, to step back into comfort. But resistance is not meant to stop you. It's meant to stretch you. God uses resistance to grow what comfort never could. Just as muscles grow through resistance training, your faith, endurance, and character grow when pushed beyond your limits. If life were always easy, you'd never learn persistence. You'd never develop the spiritual strength needed to sustain the blessing once it arrives. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this resistance trying to develop in me? Sometimes the resistance you face is a form of divine testing, not because God wants to see you fail, but because he wants to prove your readiness. It's not about whether you can start something. It's about whether you can finish it. The resistance you feel today is preparing you to stand strong tomorrow. It's fortifying your foundation so that when the weight of the blessing comes, you won't crumble under it. Don't be discouraged by the pressure. Don't let opposition make you question your path. If anything, let it motivate you to press in deeper. The enemy wouldn't be trying so hard if you weren't onto something. The struggle is often the final step before the shift. You are closer than you think, closer to the promise, closer to the breakthrough, closer to the miracle, but you have to push through. So if you're feeling resistance right now, if it seems like life just got harder, don't shrink back. You are not being blocked. You are being built. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep praying. Resistance is not the end of the road. It's the signal that the destination is just ahead. We all want the blessing. We all pray for increase, for promotion, for more influence, more opportunities, more favor. But what we often overlook is that before God gives you more, he first checks if you're ready for it. God never releases anything great into untested hands. He doesn't promote based on potential alone. He promotes based on proven character. Before he trusts you with the next level, he'll test you in the current one. This principle is seen throughout Scripture and in life. Every blessing carries responsibility. Every promotion comes with pressure. And before God places a new weight of glory, calling, or leadership on your life, he'll first examine your capacity to carry it. That examination often comes through trials, through tests, and through situations that reveal what's really in your heart. These tests are not random. They're purposeful. They show not only God, but also whether you're truly ready. Sometimes these tests appear in the form of delay. God speaks a promise over your life, but then nothing. Days pass, then months, sometimes even years. And you begin to wonder, did I miss something? Did God change his mind? No, he didn't change his mind. He's watching your posture in the waiting. Will you stay faithful when there's no spotlight? Will you serve with excellence when there's no applause? Will you remain in obedience when the results aren't visible? The waiting isn't just about time, it's about trust. If God can trust you in silence, he knows he can trust you in success. Other times, the test comes through pressure. Life throws something unexpected at you, a loss, a betrayal, a disappointment, and you're left with a choice: grow bitter or grow better. God watches how you respond to frustration, offense, and adversity. Because how you respond in pressure is a preview of how you'll act in promotion. If a little criticism shakes you now, how will you handle responsibility later? If a small inconvenience throws off your attitude, how will you lead when the stakes are high? God uses pressure to reveal the cracks in our character, not to shame us, but to strengthen us before the next level. Then there are tests of stewardship. Before God gives you more, he looks at what you're doing with what you already have. Are you managing your time well? Are you using your gifts to serve others? Are you faithful with the resources in your hands, even if they feel small? Often we want the stage before we've built a stable foundation. We want to lead multitudes before we've learned how to lead ourselves. But God always works from the inside out. He's not interested in just blessing you. He's interested in preparing you to sustain the blessing. Sometimes the test comes through obscurity. You're doing good things, but no one sees. You're working hard, but no one acknowledges. You're trying your best, but it feels like no one notices. That's a test. Will you continue to do what's right even when there's no recognition? Will you stay committed to the mission when the crowd walks away? If you can be trusted in the unseen, God knows He can elevate you without the success corrupting your spirit. The applause of man can be addictive, but God often strips it away to make sure your heart is anchored in Him, not in validation. Tests aren't meant to harm you. They're meant to develop you. They stretch your patience, sharpen your focus, and deepen your faith. And more than anything, they clarify your motives. Are you pursuing the blessing just for your own gain? Or are you chasing the purpose God placed inside you for His glory? Tests expose what your mouth can't always confess. God sees your responses, your endurance, your integrity when no one is watching, and those moments matter more than the ones in public. The truth is, God wants to bless you. He wants to take you higher, but He's not in a rush. He knows that untested character can't handle lasting success. He loves you too much to elevate you prematurely. That's why you may feel like you're in a holding pattern, like you keep circling the same issues, like the promotion is just out of reach. But it's not denial, it's development. So don't despise the test. Embrace it, learn from it, pass it. Let God refine you in the hidden places so that when He trusts you with more, you won't crumble under the weight of it. Your preparation today is directly connected to your promotion tomorrow. And if you're being tested, take heart. It means something big is on the way, and God is simply making sure you're ready. We've all experienced the sting of a closed door. You prayed for an opportunity, you pursued it with faith, and you believed things were going to work out. And then suddenly it didn't happen. The job offer fell through. The relationship ended. The dream that looked so close suddenly faded into silence. And in those moments, it's easy to feel confused, disappointed, even hurt. You may wonder, why would God allow this? Why did it seem like everything was lining up only for it to fall apart? But what if that closed door wasn't rejection? It was redirection. What if that moment wasn't the end of something good, but the beginning of something greater? In God's plan, closed doors are not failures. They're filters. They protect you from paths that would delay, distract, or destroy your calling. Just because something was desirable doesn't mean it was designed for you. God sees the full picture, and while we're focused on what we want now, He's preparing what we truly need later. And sometimes that means He lovingly, wisely, firmly closes doors we would otherwise walk through without hesitation. What makes this difficult is that most of us have been taught to associate closed doors with negativity. If something doesn't work, we assume we failed or that we're not enough. But spiritually speaking, a closed door is one of the clearest signs of God's divine involvement. He's not ignoring you. He's guiding you. He's not punishing you. He's protecting you. Every no from God carries within it a yes to something better, even if you can't see it right away. Think about this. Every detour you take in life leads you away from one thing, but it always leads towards something else. God never just stops something in your life without purpose. He's always leading you. You may not know the destination, but the detour isn't wasted. It builds trust. It teaches patience. It refines your perspective. It removes idols. Sometimes you won't discover how much you've grown until you're forced to take the long way around. And yes, closed doors are frustrating. They often come with silence. No explanation, no warning. But silence doesn't mean absence. When a door closes and you hear nothing, it doesn't mean God has gone quiet. It means He's letting your faith speak louder than your emotion. Will you trust Him even when it doesn't make sense? Will you walk by faith, not by the outcomes? Often we knock so hard on the door we wanted, we don't notice the one He's opening next to us. We try to force our way into something because we've attached our identity or hope to it. But forced doors never lead to peace. You might be able to push it open, but it won't hold. What God opens, no one can shut. And what He shuts, no one can open. That means we must learn to surrender, even when it's uncomfortable. The path He's taking you on may be unfamiliar, but it is not unsafe. It's guided. It's intentional. What helps in these moments is to shift your mindset. Instead of saying, God, why did this happen to me? Start saying, God, what are you doing through this? Instead of mourning the door that didn't open, ask for clarity about what He's making room for. Because many times God will close one door to help you focus on the one He really wants you to walk through. You may not understand it in the moment, but later, Sometimes months, sometimes years down the road, you'll look back and say, thank you, God, for not letting that happen. Thank you for the closed door that saved me from a future I couldn't see. Closed doors also humble us. They remind us that our plans are not always perfect. They challenge our need to control, but they also grow our spiritual maturity. When you begin to see rejection as redirection, your trust in God deepens. You begin to walk with a quiet confidence, knowing that if a door didn't open, it's not because you lack value. It's because God values you too much to place you in the wrong place at the wrong time. So today, if you're facing a closed door, if you've been praying for something that hasn't come, pursuing something that keeps falling apart, don't lose heart. The detour you're on is not accidental. It's a sacred reroute. God is not delaying you. He's aligning you. He's protecting what he's promised you by first preparing the path that leads to it. Keep walking in faith. Your destination is still ahead. Just not through the door you expected. Faith is easy when everything makes sense. When the path is clear, when the doors are open, when the plan is unfolding exactly as expected, it's easy to say, I trust God. But the real strength of faith isn't measured in times of certainty. It's revealed in the unknown, those uncomfortable, unpredictable, often silent seasons where nothing seems to add up, and yet you choose to believe anyway. The unknown is where God stretches you. It's the place where you can no longer rely on your plans, your timelines, or your understanding. It's where the formulas stop working, the map disappears, and you're asked to walk without knowing the destination. And as uncomfortable as that sounds, the unknown is often God's most fertile ground for growing faith. Not because he enjoys watching us struggle, but because he knows that if he doesn't develop our trust in the mystery, we'll never truly learn to follow him. When you don't know what's next, you begin to rely on God not as a concept, but as a guide. You stop clinging to logic and start clinging to presence, and that's where transformation begins. The unknown forces you to shift from self-confidence to God-dependence. It quiets the noise of external validation and invites you into deeper intimacy with the one who knows the end from the beginning. You stop demanding answers and start developing awareness. You begin to recognize that even in the silence, God is speaking, just not always in the ways you expect. One of the most powerful things about faith is that it often grows in the dark. Seeds don't sprout in sunlight alone. They break open underground, hidden, unseen, buried in soil. It's in that obscured environment where the greatest growth takes place. In the same way, your faith often develops in secret in the midnight prayers, in the anxious waiting, in the decisions no one applauds, in the quiet obedience. You may feel hidden, even forgotten. Trust the detours, walk boldly through the unknown, because what's coming next isn't small, it's not ordinary, it's not average, it's God-sized. And if you're seeing the signs, that means you're closer than you think. Hold on, stay ready, the breakthrough is already on its way.